Okay. I'll talk about the movement of the peg in a minute. And then on the G string, I put my thumb and my first finger like that, and then I'll either grab with my middle finger or two fingers depending on the size of the peg box. Hold, and I'm pulling with these two fingers and turning with these two. So there has to be a steady pressure into the peg box so that the peg will stay there when you let go. Okay? Now the motion of tuning. If your peg is this way, you will tune it underneath and back up in one motion. Down, not down, stop, up, stop. Because you'll probably miss. So bam, bam. One motion. That way you've unseated the peg and back up. Hopefully you're squeezing at the same time and it will stay there. Now when you're tuning, there's a steady pull on the string towards your peg box. The string is being pulled up or tighter, and eventually you're going to notice that the bridge is going to start to lean. So a violin dealer said to me once, to get a straight edge, this would be for a pretty thin bridge. Some of the really fat student bridges never move. Well, that's not true, they always move. But you may not be able to see this with a fat student bridge. Get a straight edge or a credit card and cut it in half. Something that you can slide into this gap here. And then you hold it up against the back of the bridge. Don't shove it all the way down into the violin body because the top of the body may not be flat right here. It's rolling down. You just bump it up against the bridge like so. And if it's leaning this way and you see a bow in the bridge, this would be with one of the professional type bridges that's a little thinner. That would mean that you have gone the bridge is being pulled forward and you need to pull it back so that it's against the straight edge. If you see a bow in it this way, it will mean that you've pulled it back too far and it will actually be bending it the wrong direction. A bridge that stays like this for too long will become permanently bent or warped. So keep an eye on that. A lot of people just try and line up the back of the bridge with this here, this bout. And that's not a perfect design because sometimes these things are not straight, but it is something you can just eyeball. Okay? Tuning's tough. If you have a fat bridge, well, even with a thin one, you can tell sometimes that the feet are leaving the body of the instrument. If they're not absolutely flat, you might see a little gap, a tiny gap, as the bridge starts to pull forward. So that's another way to tell if your bridge is... Okay, let me show you how to pull a bridge back. You set it in your lap and you'll lean over it and look down. But I take my middle finger and my ring finger and I put them around the bridge like that. Two hands. Both hands will do this. And then your index finger and your thumb will hang onto the corner or between the D, the A and E. Right there. Do it with both hands. And then these two fingers here are keeping the feet from flying out when you try and pull it back a little bit. So you lean over it, you hang onto those feet, and then you make the small, very small adjustments. Sometimes when they're, especially if students have steel strings that are cutting into the bridge, you're going to have to loosen the strings to move the bridge at all because it'll be wedged in there so tight. So you don't want to, if you're feeling tremendous pressure on that motion, loosen the strings before you do that. Otherwise the bridge can just fly out. It's really scary when that happens. So anyway, I hope this is a good starting point for you. It's not going to be quick and easy. You have to experiment. You have to practice. You literally have to practice tuning just like you practice everything else. So I hope it helps. Thanks.